Mansoor. Mansoor is the CEO of Wave Labs. I've known Mansoor for a long time. He's also the president of BITSA Silicon Valley. And Mansoor is from Hyderabad, but he's virtually a Tamilian, and he'll tell you about it. Welcome, Mansoor.
Thank you, Prakash. I've known Prakash for a few years, and I always ask him, how can he pull off so many things at the same time? He does BITSA, he does ATA, he does TAI, and whatnot. Anyways, my name is Mansoor. The story that Prakash wanted to reveal is that I went to BITS Pilani, and BITS Pilani has a wing of 14 rooms, and I was the only non-Tamilian in the 14. And the 4 or 5 years that I grew up with them, I became half Tamilian. I spent my summers with Tamilians, my best friends are Tamilians. Just a caveat, don't start talking to me in Tamil, because it's campus lingo, and you don't know what comes out of our campus lingo. Wonderful. So I'm happy to kickstart the first panel. What we're trying to address is next generation services, right? We've tried to orient this session more towards an entrepreneurial audience. I know services and entrepreneurship, where people are talking about multi-billion-dollar valuations and services go hand in hand, but I'm sure in the audience and out there are people who still want to do services companies, and we try to orient the discussion towards an entrepreneurship angle to services. Let me invite the panel. We have Murli, who's the president of 3K Technologies. Murli, if you're here, please come on stage. We have Subbu, who's the president of Zorient. Subbu. And Prabhakaran, CEO of Effect, and Asif, CEO of Cloudline. So before we get started, thank you all for joining me here, making this panel as interesting as we want. We are confident that towards the end of this panel, we'll take back something more meaningful, more impactful, and take a different perspective of services industry, right? So before we get started, let's take a look at the evolution of software services, right? It's a busy slide, but I'm not trying to draw a timeline here, nor I'm trying to be holistic in terms of the companies. But if you look at the evolution of services industry, right? Back in the era, it started off with the strategy and consulting era. That's where the big companies, the Deloitte, KPMG's, Accenture, got formed, and they went on to become big in their own right. The Y2K era produced a whole bunch of services companies, predominantly around Y2K, and they went on to become large IT services companies in their own right. And then we had this EMS, ODM era, where companies like Foxconn, Flex, manufacturing era, where a lot of manufacturing companies took a lead and then went on to become huge companies in their own right. Then we had the BPO, KPO era, then we had the engineering R&D services era. What was different from engineering R&D services and IT services is that where they focused on IT value adds, these companies tried to focus on accelerating product development and engineering for companies, so that's the engineering R&D services era. And then what we saw was a whole bunch of companies coming up as regional players. Companies in Latin America, in Southeast Asia, and other parts of the globe came about, and they went on to become large companies in their own rights. And then there was this digital era, right, where it was mobile-first, cloud, and design-led era. And what essentially happened there is that companies who started here in the IT services and did not catch up the engineering era quickly realized that there's a huge opportunity in engineering led by digital services, right? So what you saw was Cognizant, Wipro, Accenture, all of them branded themselves as Cognizant Digital, Wipro Digital, and tried to catch on to that era. Some big companies came in that era, was a company called Globant. I don't know if you've heard of them. They are Argentina-based, and they're the largest companies in the digital era. And Frog designed a bunch of things. The question that we're trying to answer is, what's next, right? And I'd like to lead that into the discussion. What I want to lead that is with a few thought-provoking ideas in terms of, we have the cognitive era, in the midst of a cognitive era. We will see a few companies definitely starting with a data and AI first approach. We'll talk about that as we go through. Also lead that into discussion of another thing that's happening. We are in the midst of something called the fourth industrial revolution. And the way to look at this is that the first industrial revolution started off with steam-based engines, then started off with electricity and mass production. Then there was this computer and internet-based knowledge era, which was where I think most of us who spent the last 2 decades have built a career around. If you read various articles from various forums and stuff like that, you will see this something called the fourth industrial revolution, which is a combination of both artificial intelligence and information technology. And people present this as a confluence and convergence of emerging technologies. So this era is upon us. We will see every industry going through a fourth industrial revolution, led by AI, led by advancements in information technology. So I'd like to pause here and say, how do we as services companies evolve and embrace these two transformations that are happening, and how do we build services around that? So with that, I'll invite the panels to share their viewpoint in a couple of minutes. We'll then have some Q&A, we'll open it up for audience questions, and finally conclude on some thought-provoking ideas for all of you. Maybe I'll ask Murli to go first. Murli?
Yeah. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
What Mansoor wanted us to do was spend a few minutes on describing our company, for a couple of minutes, right?
Yeah, talking about your vision of next-gen services and how you're addressing that opportunity.
So, this is 3K Technologies, and we are into data, AI, cloud, mobile. I think I'm fully buzzword compliant. So, I don't mean to be smart aleck or cynical, but trying to be funny. But it all starts with data, doesn't it? So our company, by the way, our founder Krishna is here, and as well as a colleague of mine, Ram. So when we started, it was all about data. It was all about data management. It was all about data warehouses, analytics, etc. From there, we grew into data sciences, AI. Okay. And I'm not going to read these bullets. You can check out our website. There's a lot of details there. But suffice it to say that
if you can more focus on what you believe is your view on next-gen services.
Yeah. So I'm getting to it. So having participated in all these technologies, we believe that this is the era of experimentation. The landscape is changing rapidly. The stacks are changing rapidly. And new entrants are coming into the marketplace very, very rapidly. So we believe our going forward value proposition is going to be about speed, about velocity. And our focus right now, besides filling out all these practice areas, is to be very agile, do a lot of experimentation. We do a lot of POCs. In the past, the traditional way to measure services companies was, revenue per consultant, bench, and all that. Those are all important from an operational perspective. But going forward, we think the number of POCs that we do, the number of practice areas that we create, the number of unglamorous things that we start to do, and then turn them into interesting and useful things for our customers. So that is our vision, and that's where we want to focus the thinking on.
And your view on what's next for the services industry? What are the next services?
So it's I think just focusing on not the large cap service providers, just focusing on the pure play smaller companies. I think it'll all come down to how fast and how relevant you are, and that will change by the day, by the week, by the year.
And then I'd like to invite Subbu from Zoe.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Yes. Great, thanks. I'm Subbu Subramaniam. I'm part of Zorient, and we are a privately held $200 million company with about 3,000 employees. And we have 3 lines of business. Started out initially as a product engineering and talent sourcing operation, but then moved into managed services and turnkey projects, and more recently into solutions and practices. As Mansoor said, we truly believe that the next era of the information revolution is upon us. And just as what transportation did for manufacturing, we believe that cloud services and AI and ML will do for what we call digitization. So digital transformation is a huge wave that is now upon us. And examples like building digital twins for industrial maintenance, digitizing customer experience, doing productivity capacity optimization through machine learning, as well as numerous opportunities around image recognition, image processing, etc., for quality control. Those types of applications are all upon us. So those are some of the examples of initiatives we are embarking upon right now. And our approach is always to start with the business value. That's very important because otherwise you have solutions that are looking for problems. So it's understand the business value, understand and work together with the customer on the right technology, and do a very quick proof of concept that within 6 months or 6 weeks will prove whether there is business value and whether the technology is viable. We then move on to a rapid scaling and implementation to integrate into the customer's business processes and workflows. And then we keep iterating until it reaches the business value goals of the customer. We build our solutions either on the cloud or on-prem or hybrid, depending upon the preference of the customer. But we do it with building blocks from our technology partners. And we create a glue that will create the end-to-end solution that we implement with our customers. So that's our approach. We believe that we're at the very early stages of this journey, and we're really looking forward to taking this journey with our customers and our partners. That's our approach.
And you can also add your view of where do you think this industry is going, what's next for the services industry, either in terms of business models or in terms of technologies. Love to hear that.
I believe that the pie for services is actually going to expand tremendously. It's going to expand because you have this ecosystem that is just starting, where partners are enabling us. You're also seeing a blurring of services and software that creates a much wider variety of business models that you can play in as a services company. So the sandbox is actually huge for us in terms of the years ahead.
Thank you, Subbu. I'd like to invite Prabhakar to talk about what he's talking about.
Ellarum vanakkam. Thanks for inviting me. From Washington, D.C. Happy to be here in Bay Area. Always, whenever I come to Bay Area, my energy gets boosted 300 to 400%. So thanks for all of that. And it's worth the red-eye flights. So I'm Prabhakaran Murugaya. I run a company called Tech Fetch. It's a talent acquisition platform. It started about 12 years ago. Today we have about 6,000 companies using our platform. We bring about 100,000 jobs to our system, and currently we have about 1 million tech workforce in our platform. 100% service companies are using our platform. So I have a larger, bigger picture of the transformation of the service industry for the last 12 years and how the transformation happening month by month, which is a core data that we are seeing right now. I'll give a few data points on my view, not as a service provider. Probably we are facilitating $50 to $60 billion worth of services on our system, indirectly. Companies are coming and exchanging data and people. But my prediction with a lot of analysis and see, whatever we do today, it'll going to take from now to next 5 to 10 years. It'll take only 50% time, 50% effort, and 50% cost. It take anything, making from those to building cars. Right? That's going to be the new feature. What does it mean for the service industry? So you consume that one line, 50%, 50, 50, 50, that's the tagline. It takes 50% time, 50% effort, 50% cost. Then what does it mean? Your P&L either reduced by 50% or your bottom line increased by 50%. Right? It can be on both ways. So you need to think in a different way of how we fit into that 50-50-50. Okay, number one. Number two, because of this, the efficiency is going to be enormously high. If you are able to book a ticket, 5 years ago, if it takes 15 minutes, it probably will take 1.5 minutes, maybe lesser than that. So not even 50%. And like Subbu mentioned, everywhere there is an automation is, coming in. If you see a quick example of UiPath, they grow the company from $1 million recurring revenue from the year to $100 million recurring revenue in probably less than 18 months. 1 million to 100 million, and they are putting monkeys, that's our nickname for robots, in every desktop, which means they're eliminating one job. Whenever they're installing one license, they're eliminating one job. But automation, right? What does it mean to your service? And so, as the opportunity-wise, tremendous. Probably 50 times more services opportunities than in the past. But it has to be specialized. It has to be micro. We all call about microservices, right? We are not building any more applications. We are all building microservices, all cloud, especially the giant public cloud. The companies are hundreds of millions of dollars with the valuation. Same service industry having $100 million revenues valued $1 billion. It never happened before. So I'm just throwing all the high level points to think what your enterprises, your companies, your customers are using services currently and how they will use your service later. So that's the connection that you have to make. So that's my good info.
Thank you, Subbu. I think we'll come back to you. Have a lot of data on the talent pipeline. We'll come back and talk to you about that. That's an interesting aspect of service industry. I'll then invite Asif to talk about his journey at Cloudon.
Thank you. My name is Asif Ali. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Cloudon. What we do briefly is we provide cloud migration services. We've been working with the Fortune 100 company, actually more than one, helping them migrate their colo data center workloads to the cloud. And we've started the journey with smaller value work such as Oracle to Postgres migration and re-platforming and then moving into re-engineering. And we believe that the future for us is going to be in cybersecurity and managed services. Quickly to talk about cloud services, right? My view is that the new economy, the cloud economy, is going to be very disruptive for service companies, right? So anything as a service, infrastructure as a service, everything is available today as a service. We can just call it broadly as anything as a service. The anything as a service economy means there is no need of capital investment. The barrier to entry has been reduced dramatically, which means new companies and new services can be built very quickly and efficiently. And also the business models, the consumption models have also become very, very usage-driven, right? So you only pay for what you use. So my view is that all of this is going to drive significant transformation. And my takeaway is that for the services industry, the existing players with the rising costs will continue to face pressures and will get disrupted. But having said that, AI and automation and all of these, anything as a service, you can get machine learning as a service, you can get image recognition as a service, almost anything right now as a service. All of this is going to open up a lot more opportunities for new companies. Right? So this is my sort of the opening statement that I want to make.
Thank you, Asif. I'll conclude with how Wave Labs, the company that I'm representing, are trying to address this. What we believe is that customers are going through a journey. They're going through a journey from being digital to a data journey, to an AI journey, to Industry 4.0 journey. So they are evolving themselves constantly. And I think as services companies, if we constantly invest in these technologies, build practices, microservices, the way Prabha can talk about each of these practices and accelerate a customer's journey through each of those transitions that they are going through, we'll all be able to build a sizable services business. So across this panel, you've heard perspective from engineering services, from digital, from IT, from resourcing standpoint, and cloud standpoint. So what we'll do is over the next 10-15 minutes, we'll kind of go through a Q&A to try and bring about some of the entrepreneurial aspects that we talked about. try and think about some of the challenges that we talked about as in this discussion. So, with that respect, the first question I have is that, in my experience, talent, and let me rephrase that, quality talent, and building the business have been two sides of a services business. And talent will continue to be quality talent again, will continue to be in short supply. The best talent is going to the product companies. So in this challenge, what is your experience? If you can talk about, one is on the talent side, the other is that on the building the business side. I've often come across small services companies who've done great in the first few years of their business, but have struggled to build a business from there on. So I think we'll try and address both the talent side and the business side in the first Q&A. I'll have Asif go first, and then we'll go through the.
So on the talent side, I think, as you rightly said, when companies are small, they tend to start off by hiring the right people. They're very judicious about hiring, and then they sort of, start to grow. And after companies grow, my view is that if you want to continue to have a good talent pool, you have to have focus on hiring the best people possible. And apart from that, you also need to have ongoing internal, training. I think that's something that companies miss, So what my own experience has taught me is that even if you hire the best people, but they might not have the necessary skills, the best thing that you can do is put them through a rigorous training and evaluation program in your company. So that's a very cultural thing. I mean, that's something that you have to establish. Most incumbents or most large companies or companies who are scaling up tend to ignore this. They think you can hire the right talent, and then they start to struggle with this particular problem. So my view on the talent side is, of course, you have to continue to try to hire the best people possible. Having said that, you also have to build a massive pipeline of smart, high IQ folks whom you can train and mold them into any way or any particular type of resource that you might want them to be. So.
Great. So what we see is, ultimately, if you look at it from an employee standpoint, what are they looking for? They want to work with a good set of people. They want to solve really exciting, cutting-edge problems. And they want to do work that is relevant and makes them happy, and they really want to come to work every day feeling that they have something passionate and that they're working for a company where they have a career path and so forth. So similarly, if you look at it from an enterprise standpoint, we see very significant differences in what they are looking for from talent in terms of service companies. They are saying, don't just drop somebody with my office and go away. I want somebody who can co-innovate with me, who can co-create with me, give me ideas. So you see this on both sides of the coin, that in order to hire the right people and to retain them and to be able to grow with them, you also have to look at what are some of the customer expectations. So it's a very different thing. Otherwise, you're simply playing a commodity game, and you're not going to be able to move further up the value chain, and enterprises are not going to see differentiation or value coming from you. So that's my view in terms of what you need to look for as you begin to grow the business. It's quality as opposed to quantity.
Thank you, Subbu. You want to take a shot?
Yeah. I spend about 10% of my time actually doing the final interview of everyone who comes to a company. So I emphasize three things. Obviously, technical competence is foundational. It's an absolute necessity. Second is versatility. Even if they are not versatile coming in, I look for people. I say that upfront whenever I talk to the potential employees. They need to be versatile or want to be versatile. The third is teamwork and collaboration. And software engineering is inherently a team activity. And so that's one thought that I wanted to express. The second is, I think Subbu pointed this out, you have to co-create with your customers. So many of our employees are actually embedded in customer projects. They think like they are part of the team. And so you have to facilitate that. You have to have constant feedback from them and maybe coach them as needed so that they can contribute in a meaningful way to the project at hand. So we have a customer in the Bay Area, and they have rapid fire. Every 3 weeks there is a project that gets flushed out. I refer to the POC, rapid POCs. So that's how it manifests itself. So you have to be agile. You have to, you may be working on a NLP project on day one, and switch to a data science project. So you have to want to do this. You have to be versatile.
Thank you.
I'm going to give a completely different answer. Good quality talent never exists. If they exist, they are not available to you.
Yes.
Right? Is that a true statement?
Yes.
Then what is the answer? We have to build it. Exactly. We have to create it. So if we take that as an input, we have to create the talent. Your problem is solved. If you don't think that, it'll never get solved. Okay, I'll give a history of TechFetch. When I started TechFetch 12 years ago, I started my back office offshore operation in Tirunelveli. 12 years ago, right? Not even one programmer exists, zero. I personally trained that people. The whole TechFetch being built today, executing a $50 billion worth of business on the platform, is still running from Tirunelveli for last 12 years. You can build it. I want to say this as an example. 12 years ago, I was thinking, one day I will say like this. Exactly. One day. I don't have an operation outside Tirunelveli. I have my DC operation, which is sales and marketing, but my tech, customer support, help desk, if you call Gomati, Subramanian, everybody will have their own name, and they will tell that I'm in Tirunelveli supporting our operation. Right? The reason I'm proud to say like this, if you want to, as an entrepreneur, if you want to build something, and if you want to execute something, and if you want to be successful, just believe in it. Every other problem you can solve. That's a high-level answer for talent, because this is the actual solution. Finding people, you need it. You have to. I asked Asif to help me whenever we have a burning issue. So there are a lot of different ways to solve the problem, but identifying somebody who's the ideal fit for your organization, who's the ideal fit for the product, it is very, very difficult and impossible to, but find a way to bring that solution and to make your nut and bolt stronger. So that's my input.
Thanks, Bhagavar. So just to summarize on the talent side, and I think it brings back memory of a statement from Jack Ma. It says the best teams that you have are the teams that you build yourself, not that you hired from the market. I think that's the summary of the talent side. I've spent a lot of my career building the business for various companies, so I'll focus a few aspects on the business for some of the entrepreneurs who are thinking about how to go about the services companies in terms of building business. The very key fundamental thing that I've experienced across companies that I have worked with, and if you look at how companies like Cognizant and all of these companies have established, you have to have those two anchor customers who give you 60% of your revenue. First few days of your startup entrepreneurship journey, just make sure you proactively invest. You make sure you win those two customers who will be with you for the long time. If you don't have that, you will be hunting for your breadcrumbs every day. If you have those stable, established two accounts that will help you generate your 60% of the revenue, you can have a breather to go build the next set of businesses. So that's one piece of feedback I'd like to give. So that's on the talent side and the business side. Moving on, the other question that I have, again, we'll try and take the next 10 minutes to wrap the question is that one of the challenges that I have faced in my career is that while services companies are flourishing, there is this growth of India centers of various corporators, right? You have large companies who have centers in low-cost geographies, and there is typically a mandate that the head of those centers want to build their own site. They sometimes don't see the value of services companies. And the question to the panel is that how do the captive centers, in the lack of the better word, they're the centers of the large companies in various low-cost geographies, and services companies coexist? I'm hoping that will bring about some aspects of various business models that we can follow, some new areas that companies are trying to address the challenge of captive centers versus service companies. I'll start with you, Prabhakaran, and then
I'll give a very quick answer. The captive centers probably will eat all the service companies' lunch by 50%. That's my simple statement. The reason is, with machine learning, AI, most of these data-centric or core IP for these companies. And then we are seeing a lot of growth in captives, especially in India. everyone, they want to expand their own workforce, not to offer services. But even if they're giving those opportunities to services companies, it's mostly BOTs.